Hi, I'm Angie Pontani, the burlesque superstar who has spent the last 20 years shimmying and shaking around the globe. I've performed in showrooms, ballrooms, small rooms, and big rooms, every room except a mushroom. Along the way, I've met some amazing people, and I'd like to introduce them to you. Together, we will pull back the curtain to reveal what really happens behind the glitter, feathers, and tassels. So join me for the bump and grind. I'm always excited to talk to my guests, right? It's something that I look forward to all day, thinking about the questions that I want to ask them. What do I want to know? But today's guest got me a little extra excited. She's a New York City legend. She's a lesbian icon. She's a groundbreaking burlesque performer, an actress, an activist, a really good friend. And I'm talking about the one and only Maine Attraction. She's known as the triple threat of burlesque. And Maine has one of those careers, it's like she's the Hall and Oates of burlesque, right? They have all these hit songs and you hear it on the radio and you're like, oh, they did that, they did that, they did that. Well, that's basically Maine. She's performed with James Brown, Lionel Richie, Jessica Simpson, Lady Gaga, Tony Bennett. The list goes on. Maine has made her mark in New York City. She was one of the first Black burlesque performers of the neo movement, if not the first. She's paved the way for others, not only just in terms of performers of color, but in her style of performance, which is so infused with comedy and physical comedy, right? It's just, I feel like she was one of the first to do that as well. So we got together a couple days ago to record this podcast, and it was the first time we've seen each other in over 3 months because of quarantine. And we just ended up having so much fun, right? We've talked on the phone, we FaceTime, but seeing each other in 3D, we had so much fun. We just talked and talked and talked and talked. And by the time it was ready to record the podcast, we totally ran out of steam. We had no more words left, and that's a feat for both of us. So we met up the following day, and we just had a great chat about growing up in burlesque, about the evolution of your art, the journey that you make when you take 20 years shaking your tail feather, right? We talked about her experience as a Black burlesque performer and the amazing work she's done on stage and off, breaking down barriers and building a better world through her poignant and titillating, stunning, and beautiful performances. I hope you guys all enjoy this conversation as much as I enjoyed having it. Get cozy with me and the one and only Maine Attraction. Do you remember the first time that we met?
Oh my God. I do not remember, but you always remind me. And that's when I get super blushy and uncomfortable because that person, that young person that I was, I don't know if I don't know if she still lives inside me. I think she went on permanent vacation. I think she was able to retire early because she was something.
She was and is like pure magic. So I want to set the scene for when I first met Maine. I met Maine at a party for Go Magazine, which does Go Magazine still exist? Are they still printing, Maine?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They are? Okay. Wow. Okay. I haven't been out in a long time, so I don't know. But Go Magazine's like the premier New York City lesbian guide to the city, right? And we were doing a party for it, and Maine was in the dressing room, and me and the Pontani sisters were sitting there with like our little tap shoes on and our little goofy costumes. And I look over and I see this beautiful woman surrounded by other women who were also beautiful and also all wearing white, and they were massaging Maine before she went on stage. And literally I swear there had to be at least 8 of them, and they were massaging her and like pumping her up and like giving her a rub down. And then Maine went on stage and danced for like 10 minutes, and it was amazing. And I was like, who the frick is this woman? I have to know this woman. How do you get white people in linen to massage you? No, people in white linen to massage you. But you can get white people in linen.
It looked like a cult.
It was a cult, girl.
I have to say that there were some white people in there in white linen. And
you had a very diverse.
I did because, my mom always said to me, I would come home with different people I dated and she'd be like, you are like Baskin Robbins, 31 flavors. I'm like, Mom, you can't call people ice cream flavors. And then Wu-Tang came out with like their song where they're like, butter. I like all the girls are like chocolate, vanilla, pecan butter deluxe, like whatever. I don't know the words to the song, but it was like ice cream. The song Ice Cream was about like the flavors of women that they liked. So I think she might have been onto something.
Mama was right.
Mama knows her baby, because I had like every color of the rainbow. And I blame Sesame Street and United Colors of Benetton,
That's good.
Yeah, diversity.
You also had body diversity as well. I remember different body types were massaging you.
Yeah.
I just was thinking, what the frick are we doing wrong? Because there's nobody over here massaging us.
I wish I could go back in time and figure out what I was doing right, because no one massages me now. I massage everyone else.
So like, this is my question, right? So you came to New York and instantly like just became this gay icon that had a cult following that massaged you and pumped you up and wore matching outfits. I just would like a crash course on how that happens. Was that your goal coming here?
The thing, okay, so I always knew, back to Sesame Street, I was like, I saw the kids playing in the playgrounds in the like episodes of Sesame Street with all these like furry animals with like marabou eyelashes. And I was like, wow. I think as a young kid, I could smell how rich those eyelashes were, because marabou is not cheap. And I was like, I'm kind of in love with Mr. Snuffleupagus and Big Bird. And I love that these kids get to hang out in this like diverse world. Where are they? Because I grew up in a very like, interesting, conservative Cobb County, Georgia, like Marietta, Georgia, like not very diverse at all. And I was like, I want to go to Sesame Street. Tell me how to get there. So I moved here. I had $20 in my pocket, no job. We took a U-Haul and we just moved here. And I don't even know how I was able to like play it off and get jobs when I first got here. I like made up a fake resume so I could wait tables, but I'd never waited tables before. But coffee shop, the legendary coffee shop, was open then. And that was pretty much, it was like, if you're an attractive person, you could have worked there. It doesn't matter if you ever start, like, I didn't know I couldn't even like put water on a tea bag at that point. So I ended up answering an ad in the back of the Village Voice. And I answered an ad for the legendary Sound Factory. And Sound Factory, they were looking for belly dancers. And my best friend and I, who taught me how to belly dance, we had an act together where we would belly dance with fire. And we went in and we auditioned. And at the time, I was bald and very androgynous and very skinny. And we got booked for that gig, but then they gave me the position. They offered me a position to go dance there frequently. So I ended up working there every week. And one of the lead drag queens didn't show up for work one day. And, it was, before Molly, it was the time of ecstasy. And I think he left, or he had a good night, whatever. And so they were like, we have to put you in his role. And so I became the lead drag queen that night, and I ended up being the lead drag queen for 3 months. And that just kind of took me into this whole other realm, because people were like so confused. They didn't know. They're like, is that a woman? Is that a man? Is she trans? Is she Black? Is she white? Is she Puerto Rican? And like, what is this being? And they were so confused by who I was that it actually became attractive to them in that way, because it took them outside of the boundaries of the world and took them into club life, where we find beauty and inspiration and we're able to be free. So I did that for a while. And then I started like go dancing. I went through one of those like sexy NYC guides, because they had those too back in the day, those book guides. And I looked up.
I remember that as well.
Mm-hmm. And I looked up every lesbian bar and club. And I went there personally and I was like, hey, you hiring go-go dancers? Hey, you hiring go-go dancers? And I started out at Meow Mix. Do you remember Meow Mix?
Girl, I danced at Meow Mix, and it was before we knew each other. But I go there a couple of times where you were also the legend of Maine at Meow Mix, which was like probably the biggest, the most popular lesbian club, the most happening club at that time, right? So we're like late 90s right now, early 2000s.
Yes.
Yes, I remember Meow Mix. I did very well there.
Oh yeah, that was the place where you got your base pay was triple times less than what you would make in tips. You know,
I made so much money there.
So much money, but you would leave with like, you know, a smoker's hangover because we're dancing on these platforms, and that's during the time when people could still smoke in bars, and you're standing higher than them, so you're up next to the ceiling and just inhaling all this smoke, and you would leave stinking like a.
But when you came to New York, like, so you went into go-go dancing, right? You went into go-go. You were in the nightclub scene. It became the drag queen replacement. Did you have a background in theater? What were you studying? What were your ambitions when you came here?
So my mother told me, you know. When I told her that I wanted to be a dancer, and she knew that was my passion, but she said, every child of mine is going to graduate from college. She's like, I won't have it, because she's an educator. Mm-hmm. And my father was a dentist. So she was very strict about our education. And my three siblings all graduated from college. I was studying to be a cultural anthropologist. And I got a National Science Foundation grant to study in Oaxaca, Mexico. And I was presenting all over the country at these like national anthropology meetings. I met the chair of the department at the school I wanted to go to for my master's. And with 20 hours left to graduate, I decided to move to New York. I was like, I can't. My mom wanted to kill me. I was like, I can't. Like, I had the opportunity to leave, and I was like, I have to go. So I initially started out, I knew that I loved dance. And I think one of the things about anthropology that I loved so much, Catherine Dunham was a cultural anthropologist, and she was very interested in dance. And she would go around the world and study these traditional, beautiful dances. She studied a lot of like Afro-Caribbean and Haitian dance. And she was one of the pioneers of showing the world cultural dancing and how important and significant it was. She was also very close friends with Josephine Baker. And my sister...
I didn't know that.
Yes. They were like best buddies. I'll send you a picture of them. They are so cute. I have this picture of them where they're backstage, and you can tell that they're having one of those moments where someone said something really wild. You don't know what it is, but they're like holding each other and laughing so hard. And I'm like, to be a fly on the wall in that moment of seeing those two greats together. Catherine Dunham,
that's epic.
Don't quote me, but I think that she choreographed Stormy Weather.
Wow.
Yeah, she was amazing. And so the two of them were really great friends. And my sister was like, oh my God, you are Josephine Baker. And I was like, who's Josephine Baker? And she's like, you don't know who Josephine Baker is? So she made me read her book when I was young. She's like, I don't know what it is about you, but something about you, her spirit jumps inside of you, and you're not even yourself anymore. You become her. I didn't know what that meant, but I read her book, and I was just like, this is everything that I think about the world. Like, she had her rainbow tribe when she adopted all of her children of different cultural backgrounds.
So amazing.
Right? She's like, you can't tell me that all cultures can't coexist, because I'm showing you that these children don't see that.
She was such a visionary. She was so brave. She was just really a phenomenal woman. It's completely insane, because I didn't learn about her until later in my life. But Josephine Baker's story is just phenomenal. And she took no shit. And I love that about her. Yeah. She was like, I'm out of here, US. You could just suck it. I'm going to go to France and live my best life. Adopt all these amazing kids. I'm going to freaking be a spy. I'm going to get military honors and forget you. I mean, she really was amazing. So ahead of her time, like
so ahead of her
as
time.
A woman and as a Black woman, it's like insane. Insane. This is the 1930s and the 1940s.
Yeah. So some fun fact for people that don't know. She actually, she left the South because she saw a race riot. She was like a young kid and saw a race riot. And she was like, I'm not doing this. So she took off to Paris with a tour where she had to perform in blackface, but she was like, by any means necessary, I'll do it, just because she wanted to leave the country. And once she got to Paris, she was like, I don't have to do that anymore. And she showed them like the beauty of herself. And then further in her life, she actually was a spy during the war and smuggled sheet music with invisible ink with the knowledge that she received as a spy.
It's epic.
Yeah. So she's kind of my hero.
So she helped shape your showbiz vision. She drove, because I find it just shocking. Knowing you, I find it shocking that you weren't like a theater kid. Yeah. You were in theater programs. You were like just entrenched in song and dance and like character improv, because you're just so amazing at all of those things in your performance. So it's kind of unbelievable that you didn't study that from a young age, and that it was like Josephine who helped you to define these elements.
Okay, well, I'll be honest. I did have a little bit of training, not as much as I wanted. I studied ballet from 4 to 10. And then in high school, I was a part of the International Thespian Society, and I was like, lesbian? And she was like, no, thespian. I was like, oh, okay. So I did have some training, but not the training that I felt like I really wanted. Like I wanted to go to this Alvin Ailey School of Dance. I wanted to do go to theater, but my mom was like, no, you are going to be an educator and a professor. Like she, I think in her brain, she wanted me to be like a professor of anthropological studies. She was so into it, and I broke her heart. 20 hours left to graduate, like literally 4 classes. I was like, peace out. I'm moving to New York and I'm going to dance, mama. She was like, I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. That's what my mom said to me when I dashed her dreams in a similar way.
What did you want to do?
Just comes with the territory.
What did you want to do?
I didn't know. I was always a song and dance, like, hey, look at me. Like, that's all I could do. I was like the worst student in the world. But Wheezy was, my mom was so determined for my sisters and I to go to college. It was like her dream for us to be educated. And unfortunately, I am not educatable in the school sense. So my other sisters fulfilled that dream for her.
But you know what?
I failed her, but she's excited now.
And that's the thing. My mom is too. Like, she literally gave me such a hard time. She gave me so much shit. And then finally I got booked for a gig in Vegas. And I was like, Mom, I'm in Vegas. You want to come see me perform? And I was at the MGM Grand. Oh. And she came. We did a Studio 54 show. And we did a play on like The Wizard of Oz and The Wiz and Studio 54. So it was everything combined into one. And my mom came backstage and she saw all of like the prep that goes into it, and saw me like, because I was the lion, of course. And my mom was like, she looks at me, she goes, Pooh, because she calls me Pooh, like after Winnie the Pooh. She's like, Pooh, this is major. And I was like, yeah, Ma. But before, she used to say to me, I always get in trouble for dancing in the grocery store, or like if good music was on somewhere, like a shopping area or something. She's like, stop dancing. You are not getting paid. And so after yes, she did. She would grab me by my arm, but not hard, just like a little soft acupressure, you know, and she's like, you are not getting paid. Stop dancing. You're not putting on a show for these people for free. And I was like, okay. And so after she came to that, I would go home to visit and we'd be in Publix and I'd be like, hey, Ma, I'm getting paid now. And I would just dance down the aisle. She's like, you're such a nutbag.
Oh my God, Maine, I swear, I can't believe we've never had this conversation because when I was in second grade, my teacher, Miss Jackson, called my mom and dad into school and she was telling them that I would just stand up in the middle of class and start dancing. And she wasn't upset about it. She just wanted them to know that I would just stand up and start dancing. And my mom and dad got real nervous about it. And Miss Jackson said, it's nothing to worry about. When the spirit moves you, you get up and dance. So that's like part of my life motto. It's sweet, but like I was prone to spontaneous dance as well.
And you gotta have that like written on like a wall somewhere in your house, like in calligraphy.
I know.
That is
maybe
so
I'll learn to
beautiful.
embroider.
And like have her name as the quote. That's beautiful.
And she was so loving and like she was just I really did not like any of my teachers. I loved Miss Jackson. She was cool with it. She just wanted them to know that sometimes I just stand up in the middle of the class and dance. Oh, I was pretty much the same, but it seems that it trained you well because you come to New York, you get into go-go. And it's just like you did not have the trajectory of a normal go-go dancer. I had the trajectory of a normal go-go dancer. Nobody knew who I was. I didn't have fan clubs. You became like legendary in this scene. You were like instant like gay icon.
You were instant gay icon too. The most Googled search for Angie Pontani was, is Angie Pontani a lesbian? Because they were so in love with you. You were booked everywhere.
I love my lesbians, but I did not have the white linen.
And they love you.
You're in this scene, you're a go-go queen. And while this is happening, this is like the early 2000s, right? The burlesque scene is emerging as well in New York City. But you were not really, you were doing it, but you weren't doing it within that scene, really. You were in a separate scene doing the same thing, making more money. Did you know the burlesque world was happening? Did you know that was going on? Or was it like two separate universes?
I literally didn't even know what the word burlesque was. Like I had no concept of burlesque until someone asked me to be in a burlesque show. And I was like, and at the time I would be like talking to people like, oh my God, your burlesque act was so amazing. And I never said anything, but my question was always, what's burlesque? And then someone asked me, they're like, can you do this burlesque show? And I said, of course, because that I was never going to turn down an opportunity to perform. I had no idea what burlesque was. I was such a little bumpkin from Georgia. Like I didn't know anything about burlesque. And they're like, just do that act that you did. And my first act was a tribute, of course, to Josephine. And I ended up in I think that show ran for maybe like 6 months. It was a speakeasy show and it was like guilty pleasures. It was like at least 5 nights a week. And you had to have a passcode to go through the elevator. And it was the kind of show that any person, even today, if they got booked for it, they would feel so special and amazing because it was so private and speakeasy and brought us back to like that time of vaudeville and burlesque that's so amazing. And I learned so much and I met really amazing people during that time. I'm still stunned that was the way I came into the world of burlesque because a lot of people have done their research. They're like enthusiasts. They're really into it. And I just was like, oh yeah, book me for the show. Let's go. So I look back on it and I'm grateful, and it's a gift, you know?
I think that especially with the OG crew, you know, the people that were doing it in the late 90s and the early 2000s, it was all pretty organic, and everybody was really just showbiz people. And it was kind of like, yeah, I'll take any gig. What gig do you want me to do? Whatever gig it is, I'm going to take it, you know? So did you find when you made that transition from doing more of the go-go and more of the gay clubs to into this guilty pleasure show, which I know that show. I remember that show. It was like a super curated show. It was like taking like a Ziegfeld Follies and putting it into like a speakeasy vibe. Like it was put together, right? It was choreographed and costumed. Did you instantly prefer that? Did you feel like it gave you more opportunity and like was kind of a better place to expand as opposed to the go-go?
So I felt like I still feel this way. I feel like drag and burlesque are very closely related because it is epitome of beauty, elegance, and comedy, and an expression of celebrating the feminine form and femininity and the cattiness of it too. I mean, all of it's linked into it. I think go-go dancing is more about the actual element of dance and keeping the energy up in the room. It's a show, but it's not a performance in that way, right? So burlesque brought me back to that drag experience. And that's why I wanted to do it, because there's so much richness in the experience of being able to act in front of a live audience and dance. It's like every element. You have your costuming, you have your dancing, you have your acting, you have your comedic timing. Like it is vaudeville, and that's where I live. Like I love go-go dancing, and also it burns calories great. Like I miss go-go dancing because I was snatched when I was a go-go dancer. 20-minute sets, 20-minute sets. That body was snatched, but it did something different from my soul than burlesque, because burlesque gives me the opportunity to be like extremely innovative and creative and political and having this connection with humanity on a level that is raw and stripped down. And it's not like anything I've ever experienced. Something about being in a room and seeing a show and seeing people do things uncensored gives you so much hope for the world.
Yeah.
It gave me so much freedom. It still is giving me so much freedom and hope for the world.
Yeah. Well, and I also think that you specifically are really like a storyteller when you do your numbers, right? And even it's like 4 or 5 minutes, whatever, you always have a beginning, middle, and end. You always are having some continuous story. You're always delivering some message, and that message could just be funny. It could be serious. It could be deep. It could be light. But I feel like burlesque really provides an opportunity for that, right? Where you said it's like go-go is just you get on and you're just on. You're the energy maker, you know?
Energy.
Yeah.
Energy. That's all. Like, that's what you want. You want to bring the level up so high that people feel like they're about to blast off into the universe, right? But burlesque is like thought-provoking, enriching. It makes you think.
Yeah.
It makes you feel. It makes you laugh. It makes you cry. Like
anything.
It's everything. It's everything. It's like the most perfect place I've ever lived with performances in burlesque.
So you go into guilty pleasures. You're crossing over now into this burlesque world, right? You, from my memory, which I was there from the beginning, you were the first Black performer that I saw in the scene.
I've heard that there were others, but I didn't see them, which made me feel like I was back in Cobb County, Georgia again, because, you know, they would keep us separated from classroom to classroom. I didn't meet any other Black performers, and I only heard about like Pearl Noir and Femme Appeal. Like those are the other people during the same time as when I was performing. But
I met you in the early 2000s. Like Pearl and Femme, I feel like that was a little bit later. That was like 2006, 2007. I mean, that Go party we did, that was early.
True.
Right?
Yeah, that was, you know what that was right after? The blackout.
Yes.
They had to cancel it. The first, remember?
Yes.
They had to cancel it. So I think that was like 2002, 1 or 2.
Yeah. I think that was 2002.
I have to look it up.
Yeah. I think that was 2002 when we had that blackout. So I feel like you really were the first, and that the first that I remember, and really looking at the time, like that was the blackout. I can't believe you remember that.
I was so upset about it.
No, that was a big show.
So, the thing is, I do have that moment with burlesque where I'm like, I feel like Little Richard. Because, Little Richard's like, I taught y'all everything.
Yes.
And the award goes to me. Because I do feel like I was one of the, I do, you know what? Let me stop being modest. I was the first Black female burlesque performer in New York City that everybody knew.
Thank you. That's what I was trying to get you to say.
You see how long it took?
Yeah, and you started to credit other people who didn't come around and they're amazing and I love them, but they didn't come around until several years after you. See, you don't take credit where credit is due, and you never do.
Angie, stop yelling at me.
I'm sorry, it's just the way I talk. I'm Italian.
Put that long ass pointer fingernail away from me. You know what? You're absolutely right.
Sorry, it's down.
But can I tell you, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And you're absolutely right. I try to be namaste about it, but you're right.
You laid the groundwork in the neo scene. You came into a scene that was totally white, really. And yeah.
I worked at some awful venues. I worked in some awful venues with some awful racist producers and racist venues. And I loved performing so much that I was like, you're not going to break me down. I'm going to get on your stage and you need me more than I need you.
Yes. Yes, yes. And you were a gift to all those stages. And I feel like you helped to open the door for neo burlesque and a lot of Black performers and performers of color.
Thank you.
So when you started, when you came into the burlesque world and you're the only Black performer, did you feel isolated within that? Like, is it something that you would think about coming into a room and picking your numbers and coming on stage and doing your thing?
I think that because this has been my norm for my entire life, right? So my mom and my dad and my entire ancestry is from Montgomery, Alabama. My parents grew up during segregation. Their friends got hosed and bitten by police dogs, and they had to use the Black only fountains and all of those things, right? I think that set the ground. And then my mom, having us live in this predominantly white world, because I went from being in a private Catholic school in Montgomery, Alabama, to moving to Georgia, Marietta, Georgia, and being in a public school. It was the first time I'd ever been in a public school. My private school, all the nuns were white, all the teachers were Black, all the kids were like from the Cosby Show. Like it was like kids of doctors, lawyers, very elite children. And then the parents divorced. We moved to Georgia, and I was in public school, and I would see like only 3 or 4 Black kids throughout the day. And so I was surrounded with all of this racism where kids would literally just like pick on me and be really awful. And they were all white. And so I had to learn how to survive and how to navigate in that world. So burlesque was just a walk in the park. But I could acknowledge, I could see when I was in an environment where I was like, you know what? This isn't a race moment. This is a moment of commonality, community, compassion, and humanity. And then there were other moments where I walked in and I was like, I'm in a fucking Klan rally and I need to get out of here as soon as I'm done. But I would do these shows. Those shows were those shows where I definitely like knew that they needed a Black performer. They just needed the tokenism of it. And I would have to just hold myself. It's like all the other performers that have come before me that had to go through the kitchen to perform, you know? So there came a point where I just became so desensitized to it over time that I've known how to navigate through that energy. And what's so amazing about today is that everything's so loud right now and the system is being broken down, crumbling, that I think there are going to be a lot of changes that are made. But I think that like what's been so tough about right now is that I'm like, oh my God, I've been like just navigating this whole time. Like I've just been on this roadmap, living my life and being like, okay, well, here I am. I'm here to work and I'm going to entertain. Because it's not really about the producers and the people that own the places we perform. It's about the audience. And that's what I've always said. But what I'm finding through this navigation, like going back and looking through the timeline of my performance career for the years I've been in New York and around the world, I'm like, that's a lot that we haven't been able to talk about, that the people that have the power are oppressive and misogynistic, racist, ageist, genderist, like they're all the wrong things. I don't do it for them. I do it for the audience. And that's the only reason why I keep showing up. It's because I do it for the people. I don't do it for the people that book me.
So when you look, so I know your first performance in burlesque was the Josephine Baker performance, right? And it's amazing and inspired tribute. Do you feel like when you've performed that, I know that we've talked about this before, like when you talk about tokenism, like did it just make you want to scream when producers would be like, oh, can you come and do your Josephine Baker number? Like, did you just feel like, okay, like you just want a Black performer and you want me to come and you want me to do Josephine? I'm like the character actor at the party.
Mm-hmm. You know, the thing is that when I decided to come up with my tribute to Josephine Baker, I had a long talk with her. It might have been induced by alcohol consumption and maybe something that you smoke. And I did have a real conversation where I was like, Josephine, I want to tribute you, but I don't know what I should do. And I heard her voice come over me. It was like looming over me. And she says, don't do the bananas. And I said, why? And she said, because I already played the savage and they exoticized me by being a savage. Don't do it. I already cleared the air for you. You don't have to. And I said, well, what should I wear? And she was like, you should wear berries. No. You should wear grapes. Because not only is the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice, that's you.
Ooh,
but
la la.
The sweeter the wine. Because, you know, those red grapes are delicious. So I came up with an act made out of grapes. I didn't wear bananas at first. But then I had a really dear friend to me. She was doing a gig at this place that was named like Banana something. It was like Banana Rama or Banana Monkey, whatever it was called. And she was like, Maine, can you do your banana act? And I was like, I don't have a banana act. I have a tribute number to Josephine that's grapes. And it's a wine act. And she was like, well, the place is named Banana Rama Monkey La Banana Land or whatever the name. Can you do it if I have the banana skirt made for you? But the whole show, it wasn't a racist situation. It was like the whole show was based around bananas. Everyone that did an act had a banana in their act. So that's why I had it made. The moment that people saw me in that banana skirt, I got booked more than I had ever been booked in burlesque before. And they're like, can you do your banana act? Can you do your Josephine Baker banana act? And I was like, she doesn't want me to do this, but I was getting booked. So I was like, if I can like pay tribute to her and honor her and do it well, then I can do this. But meanwhile, she was always like, don't do it. And so finally, I got asked to do, after all those years of being booked and doing these amazing parties, someone offered me $50 to perform in a banana skirt. And I was like, I'm destroying this banana skirt. And I literally went upstairs, got it out of my costume room. I have this huge portrait of Josephine that looks me deeply in my eyes every day that I wake up and every night before I go to sleep. And I looked at her and I said, I am so sorry for not listening to you. And I cut it in half. And I still have it to this day, but I will never do that act again.
Do you think the bananas should just be laid to rest, like moving away from that, moving away from the exoticism of it, and like
yeah, I think we should take those bananas and make a banana pudding.
Banana bread.
Banana split. You know, like we gotta do something else with those bananas. She doesn't want it. We don't want it. Like, it's time for us to advance and move forward. So, and I remember when I told the last person that asked me to do it, I said, I would never do that because Josephine Baker would never allow me to do that. And I didn't hear anything from that person, not even a response. They couldn't even handle it.
Oh God. That's so annoying. Well, then they didn't even deserve you. No, forget it. Sometimes producers show their true colors very quickly when you don't give them the immediate answer that they want. You know, it's then it's just not really worth your time. But okay, so we've toured and like talking about venues and houses and performing for the audience. I spoke to Murray Hill a couple of weeks ago, and I started to think about when we would walk into a room and different audiences and see different audiences. And you and me and Murray, we've walked into many rooms and many audiences, and Murray will look at a dude bro audience and get nervous, right? And I know that we've walked into audiences together that could be extremely white, like one in Connecticut comes to mind. Like, and you, much like Murray, when he would walk into the dude bro audiences, would get really nervous and be like, oh God, this audience, forget it. And then at the end of the show, you're like their favorite thing. So, all right. In addition to burlesque, right? This is why I can't believe that you weren't like a total theater nerd as a child, like totally like doing theater camps and all the plays and everything else. But you've done so many different things, right? You've done one woman shows, you've done movies. When we're on tour, we sit in the car and basically play all the time and just make up different characters. But
we prank Brian.
Oh yeah. We come up with different characters and we call my husband and pretend we're trying to book him for a party. But we didn't realize that he had all of our phone numbers in his phone, so it didn't really work out.
I never knew he had my number until I pranked him those 6 times.
Yeah, no, he knew. And he was literally like, why do you guys keep calling me? So it didn't work out as planned. But let's talk about Nefertiti first. Let's hit that. Tell me about your film star.
Ooh. Okay, so what I will say about that is that this genius, Lola Rock'n'Rolla, I've known her since Meow Mix. The first time I met her, I don't remember, but we met at Meow Mix, and she was a saxophonist, and she was like, hey, I'm doing a show with my band. I'm booking a drag queen. I'd like to book you to dance too. Will you dance on stage while I'm playing saxophone? I was like, absolutely. So we became friends from that. And then, life happens, you lose touch. And I ran into this random restaurant in Dumbo. And I was like, oh my God, Lola Rock and Rolla. She's like, Maine Attraction. She's like, I'm doing a film. I'm writing the script right now. It's called Nefertiti. And I was like, Nefertiti? She was like, no, Nefertiti. It's the long ancestor of Nefertiti. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, this is badass blaxploitation kicking ass character, and I want you to play the lead. So basically, she is the Wonder Woman that I've always wanted to be. Like, she's like if Wonder Woman and Pam Grier had a baby, you know?
Yes.
She's just like the fiercest character ever.
And
like
how much of her did you spin out? Like, how much of her did you create on your own that Lola wasn't like, okay, I want this, this, and this? I mean, I look at Nefertiti and I'm like, oh, it's Maine. You know, this is so Maine. How much of it was you? Is you?
I mean, a lot. I think it's Lola is a genius, so a lot of it is her. But then we'll meet and we'll just sit there and read the script and laugh and come up with extra jokes. So it's like what you envision the cast of SNL doing together when they're just like hanging out and they're laughing and they're creating these characters and the script, right? So Lola sets the stage, and then she has jokes, and then I have jokes, and then we combine it. We have a beautiful like sandwich of funny jokes together. So, but also, I mean, I should give the credit to my mother because I'm just playing her.
Wow.
Like, I'm just playing, like, Nefertiti is my mom. She was like, growing up, she was the fiercest, righteous, feminist, power to the people warrior I'd ever met. She took no shit. She's a little softer in her older years, but I've taken it over. There's even a moment where I have this eye twitch that she does when she's mad. I mostly played my mom.
That's amazing.
I took all my mom's material
and added more sequence to
it. Yeah, exactly. And latex.
I want to talk about your one-woman show. The last day of Black History Month, a conversation with a Naked Black Southern Lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
It's terrifying enough to do a one-woman show. I cannot imagine the pressure of that. But you have just fully loaded this one-woman show with such context that I think would make people like extra nervous. Like, oh man, I have a lot to deliver just with the title of this show. You tackle serious subjects. You do it in your way that you have, just with dealing with the crazy lady in the dressing room to 200 people in the audience at Joe's Pub. Tell me about how you put this show together and like what your goal was and is with this show. It's so much. And when did you do this show, Maine? When did you start this? Because it's more poignant now than ever, finally getting the attention that it needs. But you did this. When did you create this?
I call her she. That's her pronouns. That shows us she and a her. She turned 2 this February, but she's older to me because I've been wanting to do this maybe for 20 years. I've been thinking of this show for maybe 20 years. And so I went back and I looked at all my notes, and my notes in all of my notebooks. I put out all of my like show notebooks, and all of the same content kept coming up. And I was like, now is the time to do this. There were acts that I did before this show that existed during happier times, but I knew it was still important aspects of American history that were not in the books. Like you don't go to school and learn the things that I put in this show, because there have been moments of history, especially American history, that have been erased, that have been excluded from our education. Slavery is not a paragraph, but also let's talk about the origins of blackface. Let's talk about who Mammy really was, because Mammy was presented as a jovial character. She wasn't fucking happy doing what she had to do. Like, She was breastfeeding Master's children and didn't have enough breast milk to feed her own children. She wasn't just making pancakes for people, so there are all these elements of the show that I bring up and I call them Black facts. And I present it in a way that's palatable and engaging and fun, just to like stick it to you and make you feel something, right? So there's comedy in the way I present it, but there's the reality of what it really is. And I've always wanted to do this, but something about having the number 45 in office made me realize the importance of the content that I've been compiling all of these years. So
did you feel like you were taking a risk, Maine, when you put this together? Did you feel like you were taking a risk in some ways with your audience, or did you feel that possibly it wouldn't be supported, or that you would open up a bigger conversation would be the hope that I'm sure?
I mean, absolutely. I've actually had moments where I was like, if this gets, I'm not going to stop doing it. It's only, I've done it 3 times and I'm going to keep doing it. But I've had moments where I'm like, waiting for the death threats. I'm waiting for people to be awful and protest it, because no one wants to hear about the negligence and the trauma of this country and what it was built on. The thing is that we can't move forward unless we can deal with the negligence and the trauma of what this country is founded on. So my show deals with all that, but from my Black female Southern lesbian perspective. And every time I go out on that stage and I put on blackface for this show, I actually start the show out in blackface, and I don't speak for like the first 7 minutes. And then I speak, and it's like the next 7 to 8 minutes is me speaking in blackface, but just talking to the audience and acting like it's not on my face. And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I'm in blackface. Oh, you thought you came to a minstrel show. That's not what this show is.
What's the audience response? What's the audience response to that, Maine? Because that's such a strong, unspoken way to start the show. People are probably feeling uncomfortable and don't even know how to respond, and are nervous to respond. What is the response?
They're so incredibly silent, and all their eyes show different expressions. Like there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of like, I can actually see people holding their breath. They're so uncomfortable with it. They're like, I see people crying. I see them turning their faces away. They can't even look at me. It's so disturbing that they can't even look at me. And my thing is, if we're going to heal, we have to confront what we cannot look at. We have to see where we come from. That's the only way we're going to heal.
And I think like something you said earlier is the show is almost like, a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down, and that comes with your ability to deliver things in a way that people digest, and learn from, because we have to accept the ugly truths. And you're so right. We'll never, denial of these things is what has gotten us to where we are right now. And this has got to be the changing point. And I think shows like yours, and your show particularly, is such a valuable tool and asset. Your existence, your gift to the world is a valuable asset right now. But the show especially, and it's like it really I think took a pair of chops to put that on. And again, like all by yourself on stage delivering this message.
Yeah, it's an intense show. Every time I've done the show, I've gotten really sick, because it brings up so much stuff. The last time we did it, we went to Vermont to perform it, and I've never had strep throat in my life. And I got strep throat right when we got there. I had to go to urgent care, and they were like, "This is the worst case we've seen all season. What is this?" I was like, they're like, "You have strep throat." And then they said to me, you can't talk for the next week. And I said, well, I'm doing a one-woman show. I have to sing and I have to act and talk for the rest of the week. And they said, well, we're going to give you antibiotics and just do your best. But it was like something in my spirit knew that I was dealing with a very heavy content. And I had a long talk with myself in the mirror. And I said, listen, we didn't come all the way to Vermont for us to not do this show. So you need to get it together. And I gargled my salt water and I got it together. It was almost like so heavy that something about my energy felt like it needed to shut down and be silenced and be quiet. And I was like, no, you have to fight through that. And you have to speak this. We need this. And I did the show and I had people giving me so much love and tears. They're like, you're so brave. The fact that you can come out and do this and speak this knowledge is so brave.
You're giving the history lesson that we all need to have.
Exactly. And I was like, you know what? You're so brave for coming to the show.
And for listening, right? Isn't that the most important thing?
Yes. And that's the thing. Listening and having the conversation is what is going to make us heal. Listening, seeing, and having the conversation will heal us. I feel it's the only way.
It is the only way. I am with you 100%. And I want you to do your show more so more people can come and see it. Do you have plans to bring it back?
Well, I have a lot of people asking me if I can do it online so they can like view it as episodes. So I'm thinking of that. But also I think, you know, I like the flesh. I like being able to like be in a room with people and be there for them after they experience it, because I am that nurturer. You're right. I do have that mother energy about me where if you feel something traumatic, I want to give you a hug. We experienced it together. Yeah. Let's hug it out. Let's love each other.
Mother and teacher energy are two things that you definitely have. And I think you're right about being in person. You know, the video shows that everybody's doing right now are fine, you know, and they're certainly entertaining, but this has so much context and it's so important. And I think that when you're in a live show, the performer and the audience, their energy merges, right? It becomes one, and you take that ride together, and that really creates a bond almost, right? Yep. That you solidify, and it's really intense, and especially with your show.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I don't think you could duplicate that online, but hopefully we'll be able to have shows again.
I mean, that's why I've been hesitant to not do it.
Yeah, it's kind of so big that you have to deliver it door to door, you know?
Exactly.
But so if I don't want to give away too much about the show, but can we talk about your Juneteenth number and the significance of that?
Oh, yeah. So my Juneteenth number. So I talk a lot in my show about the binary opposition, the juxtapositioning of being Southern and Black, but also being multicultural, right? So my great-great-grandfather was the Grand Wizard of the Klan in Montgomery, Alabama. And my great-grandmother was a German Jew. I'm a descendant of slavery and African descent, and I have Native American heritage, and we speculate that we might have Asian descent because Montgomery was, you know, there were a lot of Chinese that were working on the railroad, and it was the melting pot, but not for the reason we would like it to be.
Right.
So my Juneteenth number is a tribute to the slaves that did not know that they were free. So Juneteenth is a celebration. All of a sudden it's on Google Calendar, which blows my mind. I'm so happy about that. That commemorates the end of slavery in 1865. So after Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was addressed, that the slaves were free, they didn't know they were free in Galveston, Texas, and for 2.5 years.
Wow.
The slaves were free and they had no idea. And then a Union soldier showed up and was like, hey, you're free. And they're like, what? We're free? So the number is my play off of having all of that ancestral baggage in my blood. I have Klansman blood in me. I have Jew blood in me. I have Native American blood, possibly Asian blood, and blood of African descent that were slaves that were brought here not at their will, right? So the number is a tribute to all of that mixture. And it's to Jimi Hendrix, Star Spangled Banner. And then it goes into Lenny Kravitz, American Woman. And then it ends with Black Betty from Ram Jam. And it starts out where there's this like push and pull of I'm standing for my country, but does my country stand for me? Do they stand for me the way I stand for them? Like I fought, like Memorial Day originates from Black soldiers. Like it didn't start out the way it is now, the way it's sensationalized. It paid tribute to the Black soldiers that died during the war. It was to commemorate them. And then everyone was like, you know what, this is a good idea. And so they came on board for it. I mean, I might be wrong, but that's the research I've done. So I was like, so here I am, I'm standing for a country, I'm fighting for a country that I was raised and born, I have a lot of conflict and a love-hate relationship with. And I come out of that. And then the next thing I do, the next layer is me in like, you know, another form of very fetishized, sexualized, camouflage, spandex like bra and panty situation. So that's like the whole feminist part of it. And then the next layer is me in Confederate flags and going back and forth between being in Confederate in a Confederate outfit, but picking out my afro at the same time.
Wow.
And waving around a Confederate flag. So it's an expression of the inner conflict of all those bloodlines not knowing what to do with themselves. So it came out in a moment of love as an act.
That's pretty intense. So, Maine, are you, so now standing back, the scene is so much different. It's literally been like almost 20 years, right? Since you've been in this scene and burlesque has been thriving in New York City. The performers are much more diverse now, like straight across the board, right? Do we have a lot further to go? Are you happy with what you're seeing? Like, what do you think has been a lot of the catalyst that has brought more performers of color into this scene? And why did it take so long? Because in the beginning, it didn't take that long, but it took a little bit. But it was so white. Why?
I think that it was just knowledge.
Yeah.
You know, because I told you, I didn't know what burlesque was. I think burlesque has always been very white. That's why everyone just wants a Black person to be Josephine Baker. You know, they don't have like a male form of Josephine Baker in burlesque.
No, and you know what? Historically, were amazing Black burlesque performers from the 30s and the 40s and the 50s who were doing gorgeous fan dances and amazing, beautiful classical routines, you know, but you're right. Is it a tropotype? Is that what it is? Everybody just wants to go back to that stereotypical image and perpetuate that.
I think that the thing that's making it different now is that there's more knowledge and there's like, it's just an expanse of time. I think that everything's changing and for the better. Absolutely. So the thing that I feel is happening right now is that there's a shift. It's an evolution shift of time. The best explanation I can give is like an earthquake. So the tectonic shift, right? You have two different plates in the earth that are going against each other and trying to find their place. What happens out of that? Growth and magic. That's the reason why we have all of these beautiful continents now. We started out as Pangea, and now we have all of these beautiful areas of the world that are separated by sea. We just gotta totally ride the wave, come together, love each other, come back to the Pangea of love.
Yes, we have to ride the wave together, because I think in times like this, like the first thing you think of is like, oh, we're so different. These are our differences. And initially it makes you think of something that separates us. But the idea is that actually we're not different, right? And we need to come together right now. That's the whole problem, is we're one. We're one. We're not that different, and we need to come together and to really get to that Pangea. Get to that Pangea.
I'm telling you, when the Beatles wrote the song "Come Together," they weren't making that up. They knew what they were talking about. They knew it.
Did they?
Well, maybe not.
Beatles.
They were on drugs, so that's fine.
Yeah, they were on a little. Well, maybe that was it. Maybe it opened up the third eye.
Maybe.
Oh no. But Maine, I love what you say. You speak so beautifully. You're so much more than just a burlesque dancer. This is my new thing for you, man. Educator, maternal, history teacher, delivering the message. So what's next? What's next for you after we can go outside again and do shows and sit in the same room? What's next?
After we go outside again, I think that I'm not going to say I think. I'm going to say it instead of think form, because when you say I think, it doesn't put it into action. So I'm going to say what I'm going to do, what I feel is important for me to dedicate my existence on this earthly realm in this lifetime, is to go out in the world and to spread education and love through performance, bringing us all together, and just try to really makes me really emotional when I think about it, because it's so hard to see the other side, Yeah. But I just really want to come to this form, like this place of enlightenment. And the enlightenment is the old message, the time-old message that all of us are very aware of. Love versus fear. If we don't love each other, we're going to live in fear. And what is fear? Fear is hate. Fear is anxiety. Fear is insecurity and jealousy. Whenever I do these adjectives, sometimes I like to do a list of love and fear, and all of the things that we feel as a society are always in fear.
Absolutely.
And anytime there's anything other than that, it's love. It's all about love. So I just want to go out and spread love. I feel like that's the way I'm going to change the world by. I'm just not going to I'm not going to do what we've done in our families all our lives. We're like, well, we don't talk about that, Mm-hmm. I think we spend a lot of time not wanting to talk about things because we don't want to make someone uncomfortable or hurt their feelings or have a conflict. But the beauty of living in this flesh, having our souls live in this flesh, is having the commonality and the conversations so that we can come together through compassion and love. That's really what it's all about.
Maine, I love you so much. Thank you so much for talking with me tonight. So excited. I want the world to know about the Maine Attraction. Oh, wait, just one thing. I think this is the perfect thing to end on. What is in a name? What's in a name? Tell me about your name.
Okay. So the Maine Attraction. My name is Charmaine, Charmaine. When I was coming up with my website, I was trying to figure out a clever website. And for years, everyone's always called me Maine or Mamie. So I was like, well, what's the website? The main event, the main thing, the Maine Attraction. Because an event is something you go to, an attraction is something that you're drawn to. And that is the law of attraction. And that's what I want to bring in. all that good positivity, that's what we want to bring in. And that's what I set out to be as a performer, the Maine Attraction. The best of positivity for all of us.
Beautiful. I am drawn to the Maine Attraction. And if others want to be drawn to you, Mainey, where can they find you on Instagram?
I am the Maine Attraction Anders. So it's Maine with an E, like the state. Because Maine is also a state of being.
Thank you so much, my dear love, Maine. And I cannot wait to share this.
Angie, I love you so much. Thank you.
I love you too. I love you too.
You make me a better being.
Oh, you make me a better being, my friend. It's mutual. I'm blessed to have you in my life.
I as well.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of The Bump and Grind with me, your host, Angie Pontani. I hope that you enjoyed listening in on my chat with my dear friend, the Maine Attraction. Until next time, be sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date with what's going on over here behind the curtain, and give me a follow on Instagram at Angie Pontani. And now I'm out of here with a big old pasty twirl and some shaking of the tail feathers. See you next time.
This has been a Giant Panda King production. You can find us at giantpandaking.com and on Instagram at giantpandaking.